Jax's revenge domain. Harrison Steele gave me exactly 5 minutes to clear my desk. Standing there with his Rolex catching the conference room lights, he announced it like mission coordinates. 5 minutes, Fisher. Security will escort you out. I kept packing my files while 12 executives watched in dead silence. Outside the glass walls, I could see Roy Gibson already standing at his desk, laptop bag in hand. But let me tell you how we got here. I'm Wade Fisher, 48 years old, and I've been running operations at Pinnacle Defense Systems for 6 years before that, 20 years Navy. I learned early that when something doesn't add up in the numbers, people die. Equipment fails, missions go sideways, lives get lost because some contractor cut corners for profit. It started with the Henderson audit, routine government review of our Pentagon contracts. Should have been simple, clean books, solid documentation, everything by the manual. Except when I pulled the files, the numbers were off, way off. $2.8 million in billing discrepancies over 18 months. Equipment charges for gear we never delivered. Labor hours that existed only on paper. Training programs that happened in conference rooms instead of actual field operations. The kind of systematic fraud that gets people killed when substandard equipment shows up downrange. I ran the numbers 3 times, same result. Then I did what any decent operations officer would do. I took it up the chain. Harrison's corner office felt like a command bunker that Tuesday morning. Persian rugs, mahogany desk big enough to land a helicopter on, and walls covered with photos of him shaking hands with senators and generals. All the trappings of a man who'd never worn the uniform but loved the proximity to power. Wade, good morning. He didn't look up from his computer. What's so urgent it couldn't wait for our weekly briefing? I set the audit files on his desk. We have a problem, sir. Henderson contract shows $2.8 million in overbilling. Invoices for equipment we never delivered. Training we never provided. That got his attention. Harrison's face went through the same sequence I'd seen in junior officers caught falsifying reports. Surprise, calculation, then that careful neutrality that meant damage control mode. That's a serious accusation. His fingers drummed against the desk. Are you absolutely certain about these numbers? Triple-checked, sir. Documentary evidence is solid. We need to self-report and initiate corrective action immediately. Harrison leaned back in his chair. The silence stretched for 30 seconds, long enough for me to realize this conversation wasn't going the way it should have. Wade, you've been under a lot of stress lately. The divorce, relocating, adjusting to civilian corporate culture after military service. His voice carried that patronizing tone officers use when they're about to screw you. Maybe you're seeing problems that aren't really there. Sir, with respect, the documentation is clear. This isn't stress talking. This is systematic billing fraud. What I see is a valued employee making unfounded allegations that could damage our relationship with a key client. Harrison stood up, his 6-foot frame designed to intimidate. I'm going to recommend you take some personal time. Maybe speak with employee assistants about managing transition stress. That's when I understood. This wasn't news to Harrison. This was damage control. I left his office knowing 2 things. First, Pinnacle Defense Systems was going to continue defrauding the government. Second, my days there were numbered. What I didn't expect was how fast Harrison would move. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for Friday at 1400 hours, mandatory attendance for all 200 employees. Quarterly results presentation, Harrison announced, standard corporate theater, except when I walked into the main conference hall, something felt wrong. The seating arrangement was off, department heads clustered near the front, but the veteran employees, my people, were scattered throughout the back rows. Roy Gibson caught my eye from across the room and tapped his watch twice. Military hand signal. Trouble incoming. Harrison took the podium with his usual corporate commander performance. Quarterly numbers, new contract wins, strategic initiatives. All the buzzwords designed to make shareholders happy while saying absolutely nothing. Then his tone shifted. Before we close, I need to address a personnel matter. His eyes found me in the crowd. It's come to my attention that certain employees have been spreading unfounded rumors about our billing practices, making accusations without evidence, creating unnecessary tension with our government partners. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Effective immediately, Wade Fisher is terminated for cause. Violation of confidentiality agreements and insubordination. Harrison's voice carried across 200 people like a court-martial verdict. Security will escort him from the premises. This company will not tolerate employees who undermine our mission or spread false allegations against our integrity. The room was dead silent. 200 people afraid to breathe. That's when I heard the first chair scrape against the floor. Roy Gibson stood up. Former Marine Gunnery Sergeant, 51 years old, built like a tank and twice as reliable. He didn't say a word. Just picked up his jacket and walked toward the exit. Then Danny Pierce, former Army Rangers, 15 years with the company. Lisa Hamilton, former Air Force logistics officer. Steve Coleman, Navy like me, served 2 tours in the Gulf. One by one, 18 veterans stood up and walked out. No speeches, no dramatic gestures. Just professional soldiers executing a tactical withdrawal. Harrison's face went from corporate confident to something approaching panic. Anyone else who wants to damage their career is welcome to follow them, he called out, but his voice cracked on the last word. The exodus was quiet, disciplined, and devastating. 18 people representing 300 years of combined military experience and the operational backbone of Pinnacle Defense Systems. We gathered in the parking lot like a unit regrouping after contact. Nobody spoke for the first 5 minutes. Just stood there in the Virginia heat, processing what had just happened. Well, Roy finally said, lighting a cigarette. That was interesting. Danny laughed, but there was no humor in it. 18 of us just walked away from steady paychecks and benefits. For a guy Harrison's probably going to have blacklisted by Monday. No, Lisa said quietly. 18 of us just walked away from a fraud operation. There's a difference. That's when Steve Coleman, our former Navy communications specialist, pulled out his phone. Wade, you need to see this. He showed me an email chain he'd accessed before his company accounts got terminated. Internal correspondence between Harrison and his finance director about managing the Henderson situation. The smoking gun I'd been looking for. By Monday morning, we had rented space in a strip mall in Falls Church. Fisher Strategic Solutions, LLC, defense consulting and government contracting done right. No corner cutting, no billing games, no compromising the safety of people downrange for profit margins. The first week was rough. 18 unemployed veterans running on savings and stubborn pride. Roy set up a coffee station in the corner using his own French press. Danny jury-rigged our network infrastructure with equipment he'd borrowed from his brother's IT business. Lisa created project workflows on a whiteboard someone had left behind. We looked like refugees from corporate America, which I guess we were. The breakthrough came when I swallowed my pride and called Colonel Patricia Webb at the Pentagon. We'd worked together for years when I was still in uniform, and she knew my reputation. More importantly, she knew Harrison's. Wade heard about the situation at Pinnacle. Also heard whispers about Henderson. Her voice was carefully neutral, but I could read between the lines. Department has some consulting work available, short-term contract, but it could lead to bigger things if you're interested. Yes, ma'am, we're very interested. Good. Fair warning though, this gets awarded based on capability and track record. No special favors for good intentions. Understood, ma'am. We'll earn it. The contract was worth $500,000 for 6 months of logistics consulting. Not huge money, but enough to keep the lights on and prove we could deliver. More importantly, it was legitimate work for people who understood what legitimate meant. We delivered ahead of schedule and under budget. Word travels fast in the defense community, especially when it involves people doing things the right way. Within 3 months, we had 3 more small contracts. Nothing flashy, but solid work from clients who valued competence over connections. Then Colonel Webb called again. Wade, there's a strategic logistics contract coming available. Department of Defense, 3-year term, $12 million total value. She paused. It's the kind of work Pinnacle used to handle, past tense. What happened to their contract? Funny thing about systematic fraud. Eventually someone notices. Pinnacle's under federal investigation. Their Pentagon contracts are being redistributed to more reliable contractors. I felt something I hadn't expected, not satisfaction exactly, but a kind of professional vindication. The system worked when good people made it work. We're interested, Colonel. I figured you might be. Bid package goes out next week. Competition will be fierce. Established contractors with decades of relationships and deep pockets. We'll be ready, ma'am. What I didn't tell her was that we'd been getting ready for this moment since we walked out of that conference room. Every small contract, every successful delivery, every client who trusted us with their mission-critical work. We'd been building toward something bigger than just surviving. We'd been building toward winning. The bid process took 4 months. 4 months of 16-hour days, detailed technical proposals, capability demonstrations, and financial reviews. 4 months of proving that integrity wasn't just a nice idea, but a competitive advantage. Roy handled security protocols. Danny designed our technical infrastructure. Lisa managed project timelines and resource allocation. Steve coordinated client communications. Everyone contributed their expertise, their reputation, their commitment to doing things right. We weren't just competing against other contractors. We were competing against the old way of doing business, the way that put profit before people, connections before competence, politics before performance. The notification came on a Tuesday. Same day of the week Harrison had given me 5 minutes to clear my desk. Colonel Webb called personally. Congratulations, Wade. Fisher Strategic Solutions has been awarded the logistics optimization contract, $12 million over 3 years, with performance options for extension. I sat in our strip mall office, surrounded by 18 people who'd bet their careers on doing the right thing, and felt something I hadn't experienced in the corporate world. Pride, not the artificial corporate pride that comes from stock options and corner offices, but the real thing. The pride that comes from earning respect through competence and integrity. Thank you, Colonel. We won't let you down. I know you won't. That's why you won. After I hung up, the office was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then Roy started clapping, slow at first, then faster. Danny joined in, then Lisa, then Steve, then everyone. Not corporate applause, but the kind of recognition soldiers give when someone accomplishes the mission. We'd done more than survive Harrison's attempt to destroy us. We'd built something better than what we'd left behind. The settlement meeting with Pinnacle came 8 months later, neutral ground, downtown DC conference room that cost more per hour than most people make in a day. Harrison looked like he'd aged 10 years. His company was under federal investigation, hemorrhaging clients, and facing bankruptcy. His lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman who probably billed $800 an hour, got straight to business. Mr. Steele is prepared to offer $950,000 in settlement. Full severance, benefits continuation, and a mutual non-disclosure agreement. I looked across the polished table at Harrison. The man who'd given me 5 minutes to pack 6 years of my professional life into a cardboard box. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The offer includes immediate payment and a clean separation, the lawyer continued. No admission of wrongdoing, standard corporate restructuring language. My attorney, Ashley Brooks, reviewed the documents. She was former military too, JAG Corps, and understood what this was really about. Not just money, but acknowledgement that what happened was wrong. We'll need modification to the non-disclosure language, Ashley said. My client reserves the right to discuss his experience if asked directly. He won't seek media attention, but he won't lie about what happened either. Harrison's lawyer looked uncomfortable. That's not standard. Neither was terminating someone for reporting fraud. Ashley replied coolly, but here we are. The negotiation took 3 hours in the end. Harrison signed papers that gave me $950,000 and the right to tell the truth if anyone asked. More importantly, it officially acknowledged that my termination was handled inappropriately and that I was a valued employee whose concerns should have been addressed through proper channels. Corporate speak for we screwed up. As Harrison stood to leave, he paused at the door. For a moment, I thought he might speak, might finally say something real. But Steele men didn't apologize, they just retreated to lick their wounds in private. You destroyed everything I built, he said quietly. No, sir, I replied. You destroyed everything you built. I just refused to help you cover it up. The door closed behind him with a soft click, final as a burial. Meanwhile, Fisher Strategic Solutions was growing beyond anything we'd imagined. The $12 million Pentagon contract led to other opportunities. Word spread through the defense community about the veteran-owned firm that delivered on time under budget and with complete integrity. We moved out of the strip mall into actual office space in Arlington. Nothing fancy, but professional. Clean lines, American flags, photos of our team with satisfied clients. The kind of place where serious work got done by serious people. Roy became our VP of operations. Danny ran our cybersecurity division. Lisa handled strategic planning and business development. Steve managed our growing roster of government relations. All of them made more money than they ever did at Pinnacle, working for a company that valued their service instead of tolerating it. By the end of our first year, we employed 28 people. Not the 47 I'd claimed in that moment of optimism, but 28 solid professionals who understood that reputation mattered more than rapid growth. Veterans mostly, but also civilians who appreciated working somewhere that put mission before profit. The irony wasn't lost on me. Harrison had fired me to protect a fraudulent contract worth $2.8 million. In response, we'd built a company that earned legitimate contracts worth more than that every quarter. The call came on a Thursday. Connor Steele, Harrison's son, asking if we could meet for coffee. The kid who'd inherited his father's name but apparently not his judgment. We met at a Starbucks in downtown D.C. Connor looked like a younger version of his father, but without the imperial arrogance. Defeat had a way of making people more human. I wanted to apologize, he said without preamble. For what my father did? For what I didn't say when it happened.
You were protecting your family, I understand that. No, you don't.
Connor stirred his coffee nervously. I knew about Henderson. I knew the numbers were wrong. When you brought it to Dad, I thought he'd fix it quietly. Make it right. But he didn't. He saw it as a threat to his authority, someone questioning his judgment, his leadership. Connor's laugh was bitter. Dad never learned the difference between loyalty and blind obedience. What's your point, Connor? My point is that you were right about everything. The fraud, the cover-up, the way Dad treated people who tried to do the right thing. He met my eyes for the first time. I'm starting my own consulting firm, completely separate from anything Pinnacle related. I wanted to know if you had any advice. I studied this young man whose father had tried to destroy me. 28 years old, probably wondering if he'd inherited more than just a name. If the sins of the father would follow him forever. Start with integrity, I said finally. Everything else you can learn, buy, or hire. But if you don't have that, you don't have anything worth building. Connor nodded. Dad never understood that, did he? Your father understood power. He never understood leadership. We talked for another hour. Connor told me about the federal investigation, the clients who'd terminated their contracts, the employees who'd found new jobs, rather than stay with a company under criminal review. Pinnacle Defense Systems was collapsing under the weight of its own corruption. The building's empty now, Connor said as we prepared to leave. Dad works from a small office in Herndon, mostly insurance consulting, small stuff, nothing in defense anymore. I felt something I hadn't expected, not satisfaction or vindication, but a kind of professional sadness. Harrison Steele had built something real once, a company that employed hundreds of people, delivered legitimate services, contributed to national security. He'd thrown it all away to protect his ego and hide his crimes. Tell your father something for me, I said. Tell him that integrity isn't weakness. It's the foundation everything else is built on. Without it, everything collapses eventually. Connor shook my hand. I will. And Wade, thank you for showing me what leadership actually looks like. As I drove home that evening, I passed the old Pinnacle building. It was empty now, windows dark, parking lot growing weeds through the asphalt cracks. A for-lease sign swayed in the wind where Harrison's name used to be carved in granite. There was a certain poetry in that. The empire that Harrison spent 20 years building, destroyed in the same 5 minutes he gave me to pack my professional life into a cardboard box. The difference was, when those 5 minutes ended, I walked out with my integrity intact. Harrison lost his along with everything else. 6 months later, Fisher Strategic Solutions landed another major contract. This one with the Department of Veterans Affairs, $8 million over 2 years to streamline their logistics systems. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Veterans helping veterans the way it should be. We celebrated at Roy's house that weekend. 28 employees and their families, burgers on the grill, kids running around the backyard, spouses sharing war stories about startup life. It felt like what family reunions should be, but rarely are. Danny's wife pulled me aside during the party. You know what he says about you? She nodded toward her husband, who was explaining something technical to a group of wives who pretended to understand. He says, you gave him his pride back. That for the first time since he left the army, he's proud of the work he does. Lisa's teenage daughter asked me what I did for a living. When I tried to explain defense contracting, she looked confused. So you help soldiers get better equipment? That's part of it. Cool. That's like being a superhero, but for real, out of the mouths of babes. The funny thing about corporate revenge is that the best kind doesn't feel like revenge at all. It just feels like success. Like proving that doing the right thing isn't naive or weak, but strategic and strong. Harrison gave me 5 minutes to clear my desk. In return, I took 18 of his best people and showed him what happens when you mistake honor for weakness. Turns out 5 minutes was all I needed to start building something better than anything he ever imagined. A year later, I got a call from a reporter at Defense News. They were doing a story about fraud in government contracting, using Pinnacle as a case study. Did I have any comment about Harrison's conviction for conspiracy and mail fraud? I didn't know he'd been convicted. The federal investigation had moved slowly, quietly, the way these things do. But apparently justice had run its course. Harrison faced 3 years in federal prison and $5 million in restitution. Mr. Fisher, you were the whistleblower who exposed the fraud. How does it feel to see justice served? I thought about it for a moment. How did it feel? It feels like the system worked, I said finally. Not perfectly, not quickly, but it worked. People who violate the public trust face consequences. Companies that prioritize integrity over shortcuts succeed. That's how it should be. Any message for other employees who might be facing similar situations? Yes, do the right thing. It won't be easy, and it won't be immediate, but it's worth it. Your reputation is the only thing you truly own in this business. Everything else can be taken away in 5 minutes. The story ran the following week. Photos of the empty Pinnacle building, quotes from former employees, a sidebar about Fisher Strategic Solutions' success. The headline read, "From whistleblower to winner, how one man's stand against fraud built a thriving business." I framed a copy and hung it in our conference room, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that character matters more than convenience, that principles are worth defending, and that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to compromise who you are. These days, Fisher Strategic Solutions employs 35 people across 3 offices. We've delivered over $40 million in contracts without a single client complaint or cost overrun. Our employee retention rate is 98%, and our client satisfaction scores are consistently above industry standards. More importantly, we've created something that matters. A place where military experience is valued, where doing the right thing is rewarded, where people can be proud of their work and sleep well at night. Roy still starts every Monday morning meeting the same way. Mission first, people always. It's our unofficial motto borrowed from his Marine Corps days. It means we complete the mission, but never at the expense of our people or our principles. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Harrison had just listened. If he'd taken my concerns seriously, initiated an internal investigation, made things right with the government, Pinnacle might still exist. Hundreds of people might still have jobs. He might still have his reputation, his company, his freedom. But men like Harrison don't listen. They command, control, and cover up. They see challenges to their authority as threats rather than opportunities. They confuse fear with respect, compliance with loyalty, and silence with consent. The military taught me that leadership isn't about the size of your office or the cost of your watch. It's about taking care of your people and accomplishing the mission. Everything else is just theater. If this story resonates with you, it's probably because you understand that some battles are worth fighting, even when the odds look impossible. Especially when they are. The workplace needs more people willing to choose principle over convenience, integrity over income, character over comfort. The next time someone gives you 5 minutes to compromise your values, remember that those same 5 minutes might be all you need to start something better than what you're leaving behind. Harrison Steele thought he was ending my career that Friday afternoon. Instead, he gave me the greatest gift possible. The chance to prove that doing the right thing isn't just morally correct, it's strategically superior. 5 minutes to clear my desk became the foundation for everything I built afterward. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. You just have to be willing to walk through the fire to reach the other side. The real victory wasn't in building a bigger company or making more money. It was in proving that when you refuse to bend your principles, you don't break. You become unbreakable. Harrison thought firing me would solve his problem, but integrity isn't something you can terminate with 5 minutes notice. It's something that builds empires while corruption destroys them.